The setting couldn't have been more iconic. Detroit, the city that lives and breathes American automotive history, was the chosen stage for one of the most anticipated moments in modern Formula One. What we witnessed at Michigan Central Station wasn't just a paint job reveal, it was the official dawn of an era set to rock the grid to its core. The partnership between Red Bull and Ford is finally hitting the tarmac, and Racing Bulls just took the first step on this journey. We're talking about brand new cars, technical regulations that redefine speed as we know it, and a grid shakeup that has 2026 looking completely different. Get ready, because today we're breaking down every detail of this unveiling, from the subtle visual tweaks at the Faenza squad to the promotion of new talent ready to challenge the status quo. All in a year where Lando Norris enters as the defending champ and Max Verstappen looks to reclaim his throne with a new number in the cockpit. Racing Bulls, or VCARB to those in the know, chose to stick with the identity that won over fans last year, but with touches that scream modernity and, most importantly, the influence of their new power unit. The 2026 design brings back that pearlescent white that was an absolute home run, but now paired with sleek blue accents tracing the chassis lines much more aggressively. It's a clear nod to Ford, whose branding is now stamped on the heart of the car. But don't let the colors fool you. Under that skin, the integration work with Red Bull Ford Powertrains has been grueling. CEO Peter Bayer made it clear, the goal is to be a culture-first team, connecting with a new generation of fans looking for more than just lap times. However, what we really want to know is if this car has the muscle to fight at the front of the midfield. The driver lineup at Racing Bulls adds a fascinating dynamic as well. Liam Lawson finally gets the luxury of starting a season from scratch. After years of jumping in mid-season or serving as a high-end reserve, the Kiwi takes on the role of technical leader at a pivotal moment. Beside him, we have the biggest wildcard and perhaps the most hyped prospect of 2026, Arvid Lindblad. This young gun is the only rookie on the entire grid this year. Imagine the pressure of making your F1 debut right during a massive reg change in a Detroit venue packed with Ford execs. Team principal Alan Permane is bullish, believing that Lawson's resilience, mixed with Lindblad's raw pace, is exactly what the team needs to level up. It's a high-stakes gamble, especially considering the competition has never been more cutthroat. This whole Detroit rollout serves as a reminder that Formula One is built on cycles, and the one starting now is among the most unpredictable in history. Merging world-class engineering with Ford's racing DNA puts the Red Bull family in a position of power, but the track will be the ultimate judge. We know the car on stage is a variation of the FIA show car, and the actual chassis hitting Barcelona for testing in a few weeks will be far more refined. But the message has been sent. They aren't just here to fill the gaps. Before we dive into the Red Bull Racing specifics and Max Verstappen's massive number swap, I want to personally invite you to join our community. Formula News USA is becoming the go-to spot for American fans who want straight-up, deep-dive analysis on the world's fastest sport. Subscribing is the best way to stay ahead of the curve and ensure you don't miss a single beat of this historic 2026 season. If you appreciate this kind of technical breakdown, smash that like button right now. It tells the YouTube algorithm that our content matters and helps us reach more gearheads across the country. And hey, I want to know, which city are you watching from today? Drop a comment below. It's huge for us to see how far this US fan base reaches, and your engagement is what keeps this channel in the fast lane. While Racing Bulls brought subtlety and continuity, Red Bull Racing decided to kick the door down with the launch of the RB22. The event at the iconic Michigan Central Station wasn't just a color reveal, it was a declaration of independence. Watching stunt pilot Martin Sanka tear through the Detroit sky and, with a precise dive, unveil the new car, set the tone for what Red Bull expects in 2026, a return to the top with renewed aggression. The first thing that jumps out is the radical shift in texture and the car's color base. After years of the matte finish, which became the team's calling card, Red Bull has gone back to its roots, bringing back the high-gloss shine we first saw in 2005 when the energy drink giant debuted on the grid. That choice for a gloss finish isn't just for the cameras. It's paired with a base the team dubbed Heritage White. This white acts as a canvas, allowing the iconic sun and bull logo to pop with a depth and clarity we've never seen before. In person,
The car looks alive under the spotlights and visually signals a brand new chapter. It's a look that manages to be both nostalgic and futuristic. But beyond the paint, what really matters is under the hood. For the first time ever, Red Bull is hitting the track with its own power unit, developed in-house by Red Bull Ford Powertrains. This is the definitive end of the customer era and the start of a journey as a full-blown works team. We have to understand the gravity of this move. When Honda announced they were leaving F1, a decision they later walked back to sign with Aston Martin, Red Bull was at a crossroads: either go back to being a customer or build their own engine division. They chose the hardest, most ambitious path. The partnership with Ford, which started behind the scenes back in 2023, is finally facing its moment of truth. The American giant didn't just bring the name in the blue accents we see on the car. They brought massive expertise in electrification and technical resources that are vital for these 2026 regs, where the electric side of the motor carries significantly more weight in total performance. This technical transition coincides with a major leadership shift. Laurent Mekies, who took the reins as team principal mid-season last year, now faces the challenge of leading Red Bull through its most important year yet. Beside him, Pierre Wache continues to steer the technical ship, ensuring that Adrian Newey's DNA still echoes in the aerodynamic lines of the RB22. The question hanging in the air is, will this new structure have the stability to take on a Ferrari team led by Lewis Hamilton and a McLaren squad defending the title with Lando Norris? The pressure is astronomical. Red Bull knows they can't afford a learning year. Ford's investment and the infrastructure built in Milton Keynes demand immediate results. The car we saw in Detroit, while still a show car version of the 2026 regs, already hints at interesting solutions around the air intakes and the floor. The goal is clear: give Max Verstappen and the young Isaac Hadjar a machine capable of reclaiming the dominance the team enjoyed at the start of the decade. Choosing Detroit for the launch reinforces this global ambition and the importance of the US market. It's the perfect marriage of Detroit's industrial tradition and F1's high-tech frontier. What we're seeing is Red Bull trying to reinvent itself without losing its soul. The heritage white and the gloss finish are ways of telling the world they respect the past, but are ready to dictate the future. And speaking of the future, the garage dynamic is going to be electric. On one side, the generational talent of Max Verstappen, and on the other, the youth of Hadjar, who climbed up from racing bulls after just 1 year to take one of the most coveted seats in the world. It's a bet on the continuity of their junior program, proving they still trust their own academy to fuel the main squad.
Perhaps the most symbolic change of this launch isn't the paint on the car, but the sticker on the nose of Max's RB22. For the first time in years, we won't see the number 1 on a Red Bull. With Lando Norris clinching the World Championship last year, the number 1 now belongs to McLaren. So what did Max do? Instead of reverting to his old number 33, he went with the number 3. Yes, the same number Daniel Ricciardo used throughout his career and that we last saw in 2024. It's wild and honestly a bit nostalgic to see this swap, especially with Daniel himself at the Detroit event in his new role as a Ford ambassador. It's almost like the number 3 has a permanent home in the Red Bull family, regardless of who's behind the wheel. We need to look at what this says about Max's headspace. He's always said number 3 was his favorite number, but he couldn't use it because Ricciardo owned that brand. Now, without the weight of the number 1 and coming off a season where Norris was the man to beat, this change feels like a total reset for the Dutchman. He's going back to basics to try and reclaim the throne, but he won't have it easy because the dynamic inside the garage has shifted entirely. Isaac Hadjar arrives with Helmut Marko's seal of approval and the experience of a very solid season at Racing Bulls. Promoting a kid directly to the main team is a move Red Bull hasn't made with this much conviction in a while, and it shows how much they trust Hadjar to deliver immediately under Laurent Mekies. And speaking of fresh air, Sergio Perez's move to Cadillac, where he's now pairing up with Valtteri Bottas, left that void that Red Bull chose to fill with youth rather than chasing a big-name veteran on the market. This proves the 2026 project is about the long haul. They know the Ford Powertrains motor is a bit of a wild card regarding reliability in the early rounds, so having drivers raised in the team culture is a strategic edge. The grid is much more fragmented this year.
We've got Lewis Hamilton settled in at Ferrari, trying to find that perfect rhythm with Charles Leclerc to take the fight to the champion Norris at McLaren. In the middle of all that chaos, Red Bull is trying to find its identity as the juggernaut it used to be. What does this actually mean for the RB22's competitiveness? It means the heat on Pierre Wache and his technical crew is tripled. They don't have the political shield of a Christian Horner anymore, and they don't have the Honda database to lean on. This is a leap into the unknown, but a leap with a massive bankroll behind it. Ford's presence in Detroit, treating F1 as the pillar of their global marketing, puts a heavy burden on the shoulders of Max and Hajar. You have to wonder, will this power unit have that party mode Mercedes had in 2014, or the balance Honda recently achieved? On the ground, what we saw in Detroit was the start of a total tech war. The 2026 regs changed how energy is harvested and deployed, and it looks like Red Bull Ford focused heavily on integrating the hybrid system with Active Aero. The car going to Barcelona is going to have solutions that might make some head spin. The field is so tight that any detail, like a more aggressive driver or better battery management, could be the difference between a podium and being stuck in the middle of the pack. What do you guys think? Does Max with the number 3 bring that young disruptor energy back? Or do you think Norris's reign at McLaren is going to be a tough one to break? This grid movement, with Perez and Bottas bringing their veteran experience to Cadillac, also takes some of the ego management pressure off Red Bull. Now the mission is 100% technical. But the million-dollar question remains, can Hajar handle the heat of being teammates with one of the greatest of all time right out of the gate? We've seen careers stall out in that second Red Bull seat before. However, the optimism in Detroit was palpable. They feel they have the right package at the right time with the right partners.
We all know Detroit was the visual spectacle, the moment for the cameras and the big impact quotes. But the real verdict of this 2026 season will be written in just a few days, when the tarmac at Montmeló sees the first preseason tests in Barcelona. We need to keep our expectations in check. The car we saw on the screens and the stage in Michigan is what the industry calls a show car. Even Red Bull admitted the final version of the RB22, the one actually hunting for lap times in Spain, will have deep changes compared to what was shown. Active Aero, one of the biggest question marks of these new regs, is still a closely guarded secret. We saw the tuxedo version, but the technical muscle is still being toned in the factories at Milton Keynes and Faenza. The technical challenge of 2026 is undoubtedly one of the biggest in the history of the sport. Integrating a brand new power unit, born from a partnership with Ford, into a chassis that needs to be lighter and more agile than previous models is a monumental puzzle. Alan Permonet was clear. That partnership with Ford from day one is what gives them the strategic upper hand. While other teams might struggle with a lack of communication between engine and chassis, everything here was designed to work in symbiosis. But theory is one thing, and practice at 200 miles per hour is quite another. Reliability will be the key word in the early weeks. It doesn't matter if you have the punchiest motor on the grid if your hybrid system can't deploy energy consistently over an entire lap. For Racing Bulls, the focus is consolidating that vanguard team identity. Peter Bayer's talk about being a culture-driven team for new generations sounds great for marketing, but Lawson and young Lindblad know the brass will be demanding points and podiums. Lindblad specifically carries a heavy pack. Being the only rookie in a year of such radical change is like being thrown to the wolves without a shield. However, the technical support from Ford and the experience gathered by the Faenza engineers provide a safety net few rookies have ever had. The team is betting big that his raw talent will blossom quickly under the F1 pressure cooker. Looking at the big picture, 2026 paints a scene where the hierarchy is wide open. McLaren starts with a target on their back defending Norris's title, while Ferrari tries to fast-track Charles Leclerc's adaptation to the new car alongside a multi-time champ like Hamilton. Red Bull, with its own engine and Max going back to basics with number 3, wants to prove its winning DNA doesn't depend on outside suppliers. It's a multi-billion-dollar bet that starts paying off right now. Every mile in Barcelona will be scrutinized by thousands of sensors, and every roar of the Ford Powertrains motor will be watched closely by the competition. The journey is just beginning, and this year promises to be a total roller coaster. To make sure you don't miss a single detail of this historic transformation, subscribing here to Formula News USA is essential. Our goal is to bring you deep dive info without the fluff, ensuring you understand not just who won,
but the why behind the results. If you've made it this far and value this kind of expert analysis, hit that like button and share this video with that friend who also lives for race day. Your support is the fuel that helps the algorithm recognize our content and allows us to keep investing in more complete coverage for you. I want to know your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. And for more high-speed updates, make sure you're tuned into our community tab. We'll see you very soon with the full breakdowns of the preseason tests. On the end screen, I've left 2 more videos I'm sure you'll love to keep you in the loop. Thanks for watching, stay fast, and I'll see you in the next video.